Hi, it's John Terry with Vision Advisors, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this live interview with Sierra Lister, who is the Chief Counsel of Integrated Trust Systems. You know, you were invited here today for a very unique conversation, and I'm looking forward to some Q&A with Sierra in this regard, and really talking about how you can have an estate planning attorney on your team no matter where you live in the United States. One of the things that we found that has really impacted our nation and really our populace as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic that we dealt with, that really created challenges for a lot of us in 2020, was the fact that the estate planning arena really gained some exposure. And the need for estate planning not only was raised in terms of awareness with the older populace, but we saw a tremendous interest in the need for and people seeking out estate planning information and asking, how do I put together an estate plan, even going down into the millennials and into the Gen Z generation. The fact that people realized that as family members were getting sick, and unfortunately some of those were passing away, those that had an estate plan had something in place that allowed them to say, I love you to the family members, and to be able to offer to them some peace of mind that pieces of the puzzle had been put in place in such a way that there was continuation for a surviving spouse. There was continuation for children and grandchildren. There was a formula and a plan to pass assets on from one generation to the next. And for those that did not have that, didn't have a power of attorney, didn't have a living will, didn't have some of the other estate planning and what we refer to as medical preparedness documents in place, all of a sudden they found their already stressed out world even more stressed out. I was actually having a conversation with an attorney friend yesterday, and he was telling me that in New York, they're still trying to get death certificates from people that died in 2020 as a result of COVID. Now, you and I all know that with any type of financial product that we sell, life insurance or annuities, being able to collect a death benefit, you got to have a death certificate. Being able to implement an estate plan, you got to have a death certificate. That was a challenge for a lot of people. But those that had a plan, once they got that death certificate, they could move forward. So I want to take some time and do a little Q&A with Sierra and really talk about the need for estate planning, why producers should work with an estate planning attorney and the benefits of that, and then how you can uniquely do that by working with us here at Vision Advisors and our unique relationship that we have with Integrated Trust Systems. So Sierra, first off, I want to say thank you for joining us. And if you would you share with those that are listening to us live and those that will be later listening online to this, give them a little bit of your background, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah. Hi, John. Absolutely. It's great to be here. I love to talk about things as they change in the legal profession, especially in our specialty of estate planning. I'm a University of Florida alumna in Florida, and then I went to law school in Florida too at Ave Maria School of Law. I was practicing in insurance litigation when I started the probate and trust center inside of our law firm there, eventually branching out to my own law firm and becoming chief counsel of ITS. So now I focus only on using our platform to do estate planning and partnering with advisors and other groups to bring this to their clients. So this is what we specialize in. This is what we do, adapting to a virtual time, especially with COVID catapulting us into that need for digital transformation.
So one of the things that you guys have done, and Gary, who founded this program, Gary Lofsgaard, who put this program together years ago, Gary's a longtime friend, and I've had an opportunity to work with him for years in this space. You guys at ITS have created a very unique digital platform that allows a financial professional to integrate with their clients and with someone like yourself that's part of this ITS network of attorneys that you have to be able to provide estate planning. Sierra, can you give us just kind of a high-level overview of how that works?
Absolutely. We are very unique in the sense that we are very client control centric and advisor centric. An advisor always gets partnered with a network attorney from the ITS system. So you're never giving legal advice or doing anything on your own, But as the advisor, you have that ability to make sure that the documents always reflect and go through with the financial plan that you have set in place while the clients are alive. Having it be virtual means that we can make modifications over the client's lifetime without having to reinstate anything. So the funding process, which just means assigning assets to the trust, and the process of getting new family members, having life changes, losing family members doesn't become a detrimental expense. It's a 30-second fix in a virtual platform, allowing those clients and those advisors to take control while having the full support and full knowledge of an attorney that gets tied to that client, so they'll always have the same attorney for the rest of their life.
So, Sierra, as a financial professional, we're out there, we're working with our clients. Many of us that are on this call today and those that are going to be listening to the online recording later work in the senior market. They work with people that are at or near retirement age, or they've recently retired, and sometimes they've been retired for several years. One of the things that we find often in conversations that I'm having with producers is, at best, their clients met with an attorney years ago. And I love to use a story of my mom and dad. So let me share that real quickly and maybe set the stage for the next question. I remember meeting with my mom and dad several years ago and talking to them about their estate plan. And I asked my dad, I said, "Dad, do you guys have all of your estate planning documents in place?" And he smiled and he said, "Son, we did that when you and your sister were little kids, because Dad was pastoring a church in Oklahoma, and we drove over 2 hours each Sunday for 7 years for Dad to pastor a church. And he was concerned if something happened and they were killed in a car wreck, who was going to take care of us?" So by this time, I'm married. I've got kids. I've got grandkids on the way. And as I looked across the table having lunch with Dad and Mom, I says, "Dad, when's the last time you updated that estate planning document?" And the crickets, nothing. So I had Dad to go pull his documents and open them up. And sure enough, Dad had not updated anything in any of his estate planning documents, which at that time was just a will, since my sister and I were 8 and 5, respectively. And that's what we often see. People have done some planning, and then they just kind of put it on the shelf and said, "That's done." But Sierra, you and I know that estate planning is an ongoing, evolving process that has to be continually updated. Can you talk about some of the things that you've run into in working with other advisors, and maybe the need for an annual review or a periodic review of estate planning documents and the preparation process for producers?
Absolutely. I think it's really important as an advisor, if you are doing any sort of planning, from products to advanced financial planning, it's so important to review your plan every year. There's changes in your clients' lives, there's changes in their financial situations. And being able to be in control of that and make an easy fix means that you have the ability to essentially adjust or change that estate plan every year without causing any sort of detrimental fee or trying to get back with that attorney. So it allows you to do that really easily and plug it into your practice. I see a lot of other advisors who aren't using something as digital or easy to use, obviously not partnered with an ITS network attorney. And they'll talk to their clients, and their clients, the last time they did their estate plan was 4 years, 5 years ago. Even worse, you see a client who passes away and their estate plan is 10 years old. They didn't account for any grandchildren. They didn't account for any of their insurance products that they had purchased in that time. And so things get lost, pushed into probate. It just leaves it open to all those horror stories of all those things you hear where assets are fought over, families are fractured. So doing that every year and making sure that everything stays the same, because the client might think, oh no, nothing really big has changed. But even adding more money to your retirement account can change the way you plan for your estate planning and for your family.
Yeah, and I saw that happen with my uncle, who was a CPA. He put together a written will and never married, but every time he had a new girlfriend, he wrote a new will and handwritten, and he would leave everything to his new girlfriend. And my uncle unexpectedly died of cancer just within a very short period of time. And when my dad, who was named as the executor in one of the wills that we found, and later found 7 wills with 7 different named beneficiaries, none of the documents were dated. All of that had to go to the probate court, and we had to sit down and figure out a timeline of at what point in time he dated which of those specific girlfriends to try to determine which was the most accurate and complete will because even though he had revoked his previous wills, none of them were dated. It was quite a cumbersome mess. But think about the fact that 50% of all marriages in America plus end in divorce. How many people die without updating their estate plans, and then all of a sudden they find out the new wife wasn't included in the estate plan, but the old wife was? There's significant problems that can come up with a failure to plan. But Sierra, I want to go back to really the basic question on the front end. Why estate planning, and why is that important?
For the same reason they were visiting a financial planner. They've spent their lives collecting these assets. You work your entire life to collect money, to purchase things, to plan for your family, and to provide. So you don't want to leave those things up to chance. Even with a will, people forget, you want to utilize trust documents to keep things out of probate court. If you die without an estate plan, the state's going to decide where all your stuff goes. If you die with a will, the state is still going to determine in that probate court proceeding what's going to happen, trying to interpret the will, interpret it in the eye of that state's law. And you're not controlling what happens to those things that you essentially spent your entire life to collect, to give to your family and to your loved ones. Or, in another case scenario, even a charity. You want to know where those things are going to go and do it in a way that it's not left up to chance. It's not an interpretation by someone else. And you can control it, in Nevada law for 365 years if you want.
So one of the advantages of working with ITS and the contracted producers with vision that are having an opportunity to work with ITS and do their planning is the system that you've put together really creates a comprehensive estate plan for a family that you're working with. It's not just a will, or it's not just a trust. It's a really an assortment of documents that provide the estate planning instructions, but also the protections and the provisions in the event somebody gets sick, somebody gets incapacitated, can't make their own decisions. They've got minor children that have to be addressed. They've got special needs children that they're going to have to take care of after they're gone. Sierra, can you talk about some of the components of what's available in the ITS platform that we make available to our producers to use, and some of the benefits of those specific elements of those overall plans that you guys help them put together?
Yes, of course. Well, with the overreaching, just estate planning kind of idea, everybody needs that basic estate plan of utilizing a trust, staying out of a probate court, and making sure things go where they want them to. But of course, there's so much more to estate planning than just planning for those finances. We do, a lot of people here call it a special needs trust. We call it a universal guardian trust because it's coupled with a guide. So one, it can be that day to day, what those children need as far as guardian guidance, and then it couples with the language whether they're receiving SSI benefits or they're not. The trust accounts for both those scenarios to make sure that they're not being disinherited prematurely or in a way that is going to affect them, or that their inheritance is not going to disqualify them from government assistance. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that. Those laws change. There needs to be some malleability of what the trustee can do if the laws change federally or statewide for assistance. So it's really nice to have a trust be that document because, again, a will is written in stone, but it's going to go through that probate court and it's going to be interpreted. We have a lot of things for Medicaid planning, for wealth preservation trust, anything that needs to be done to protect your assets, your family, even as the creator, you need to protect your home if you think that there's going to be a Medicaid, Medicare issue. Anything that could be an issue financially, or I guess, for your children or the people that you're leaving your money to, we can draft those things, adapt them over time as those situations change, and make sure that you're not giving people money too quickly, too slowly, or that if there's a health or education need or emergency that we can provide for them as well.
Now, COVID identified another major issue, and that's something you also address in your platform, and that's the power of attorney. And many people don't understand the role of a power of attorney and the role of a living will as it plays into medical preparedness. Can you take just a minute and cover those two documents for us?
Yes. So something that's very important that people understand on a very basic level is that power of attorney form. Obviously, you're giving someone financial power over your assets. What is inside our portfolio as a default? We give you a blank power of attorney. If you ever want to sign over your financial powers, You can go ahead, we give you the form, it's there for you. But what we use is called a springing power of attorney. So it only springs into effect if you are deemed incapacitated by a medical professional. So you're not giving up any control until there's an emergency situation. You've been deemed incapacitated. And when that happens, people hear these horror stories of family members or people they know being forced into conservatorships, being forced into probate court while they are alive. So that springing power of attorney allows the trustee to step up into the successor trustee's shoes and essentially take over your financial powers and start following your trust. They're going to make sure that your medical bills are being taken care of, your utilities, your mortgage is being paid. Someone's not going to try to foreclose your house while you're in a coma. It's a very important 3-page form that gets overlooked very often, and things get frozen, electricity gets turned off. You can imagine how detrimental that could be to a family with young children, or where someone has single bank accounts and is by themselves. Again, if something happens to you in an emergency situation, very prevalent in webinars and things during COVID was, what's going to happen if you can't make your own medical decisions? Who's going to step into those shoes? And even more important, most people know, my wife is going to be my healthcare power of attorney. But what happens when she has to make those really tough decisions and you guys haven't had the conversation of what you would like to happen if you were incapacitated, if you were in a coma, all your teeny tiny allergies and your entire medical history, especially if you're appointing a sibling or a friend, they need to know what your decisions would be. And it's a tough time for them. So you want to go ahead and give them the directions. Again, we keep that on a virtual platform and it can be updated at any time. You can upload your medical documents. You can go in and change anything as you change your mind, learn more, spend time in the hospital. You might have different opinions on what you want to happen to you as you experience life and being maybe in a hospital or some medical conditions. So it's something that needs to be kept up to date regularly. And if you have to go meet with an attorney to do that every time, especially during COVID, it wasn't happening. And we're seeing a lot of people with really outdated living wills, medical directives, everything that you want to call those forms. We put them all together and call them advanced medical directives. But we were having people with old, outdated documents appointing, a spouse who had been deceased for 5 years as their healthcare agent. It's very important that those things be up to date, or the doctor has no one to look to, especially when the doctor is very busy. It needs to be something that's there and readily accessible for them.
So, Sierra, the producers that are on the call today are all financial professionals that work with clientele. And as they're doing their annual reviews and looking to have the estate planning conversation, what's an easy way that they could make the transition or introduce the estate planning discussion with their clients in such a way that they could introduce someone like yourself to the clients that they're working with and already have trust and rapport with, so that that important conversation can take place?
I think it's got to be part of any planning. If you're not doing estate planning, you're not doing a full financial plan. I don't know where we kind of got this connotation that financial advisors take care of your money while you're alive, and then when you're dead, it goes to some attorney that you don't necessarily know. The main thing with the ITS platform is, yes, you're partnered with an attorney. Yes, you need that legal expertise, but estate planning is financial planning. And your client came to you to do their financial plan. So we put the rapport in your hands. You're the financial planner. This is your network attorney. They are your team member who is there to make sure it follows the plan that you and the client have put together while they're alive, while they're incapacitated, and for their family when they have passed away. So realistically, it's just bringing in an expert to lift you up as an advisor.
Yeah, it's really what we introduced the concept of the webinar today is having an attorney on your team. And one of the things I talked about in my book that is now in its 4th edition, Printing Dollars and Cents, is I talk about in that estate planning is something that happens throughout our lives. That the minute we start, I remember when I started as a 13-year-old kid, I started a lawn mowing business with my sister. That was the start of an estate plan because now I had some assets. I had some things I owned. I owned money, I owned lawnmowers, I owned weed eaters, and I owned other equipment that I owned at that point in time. And then throughout my working career, I've continued to add assets and I've continued to grow assets. I've got a home, I've got automobiles, I've got other assets that I have accumulated. Now, at some point down the road, maybe I'm going to quit working. I love to work, who knows? But at some point, I'm going to quit. And then all of those assets I've accumulated, I'm still estate planning, but now I've shifted to part two of estate planning, not the accumulation of assets, but how do I decumulate? How do I take some of those assets and create income to provide dollars for me to live on when I'm no longer working? And then the third part of estate planning comes into the wealth transfer part, leaving money to a surviving spouse, to the kids, the grandkids, and making sure there's a plan in place to pass on my home, to pass on my automobiles and other motor vehicles that I have, all of the other stuff, if you want to just refer to it that way, to get that to the folks I want it to go to when I'm gone. It's all part of a process. So I love what you said there. Now, Sierra, to integrate and to work with an attorney like yourself, the attorney, I'm just going to pick somebody here on the list. Let's say Chris steps in, and Chris has an opportunity, has a client that's interested. Everything ITS does is done through an online platform. Can you kind of walk the producers on the call through the process of how that works and how they're able to deliver a solution from estate planning with your assistance or another attorney's assistance in the group so that they can meet that client's need?
Yeah, we've done it so that it's very advisor friendly. Opening that console with the clients is just that basic input of information. We kind of lean on the advisor. Can you get us the primary address, the date of births, very basic contact information for these clients, and just kind of go through and make sure that the console is open. This allows all of the preliminary revocable living trust documents to be drafted. The primary documents, even if you go to a classic law firm, are always going to be the same. They're just pulling it from a template that's on a Word document. We're just hosting it online. So everything's there and ready to go by the time that you get that client to the attorney review, meaning just getting them on the attorney's calendar. You're obviously encouraged to be there as the advisor. It usually takes about an hour to an hour and a half. And the attorney's going to go through and make sure that those directives are customized the way that the clients want. I'd say 90% of the time, those clients are trying to get everything to certain beneficiaries. They want to appoint certain personal chattel, which they can go in and do themselves. That's all their stuff, their things, their personal chattel. They can get really in depth with those kinds of things, but any large distributions of real estate, how they want the payout to be either an income or chunks, lump sums, however they want to do that for their children, the attorney's going to go through and make sure that those things are drafted properly. Um, you know, most of the language in there that is the revocable living trust is going to be exactly what the clients want. That attorney goes through and customizes it all, make sure that the client understands. They make sure everything is e-signed and implemented that day. And they also go in and do a virtual verification, which is just like a notary stamp, except that it's virtual. It's a verification by an attorney. So might be even a little bit better, saying that, the attorney met with them, verified their identity, and got everything signed. So it really is a very easy process to go from A to Z. They're going to go through all the documents with the client, from medical directives to durable power of attorney, certificate of trust, their assignments of property, even start that funding process with them where they're assigning personal property and accounts to the trust, so that the client can understand the console and take as much control as they want, that the advisor knows what has happened, can look at the console and make sure that it's reflective of what they had planned. And then that all around, tied up with a ribbon and bow, stamped gold starred by an attorney at the end, making everybody feel really comfortable. And the clients know that they can always reach back out to the attorney, and the attorney's always there to assist the advisor with any of those changes as well.
The other thing I like about your platform that you have, and for those of you that are interested in learning how to get engaged with this program or learn more about it, at the end of that, I'll give you some instructions on how to do that. And by the way, those of you that are on the call, we've got you muted so that we can keep the background noise down. But if you do have a question that you'd like to pose, please use the chat box and post that in. It looks like I've got a few questions in the Q&A that I'll go to, and I'll pull that up here in just a minute, and we'll cover those so that we can answer those questions for you. But anyway, Sierra, if the client later has, I'll just use myself as an example. Right now, I've got 6 kids, I've got 3 grandkids, and I've got 3 of my kids that have recently married, probably going to have kids in the future. I put my estate planning document together. All of a sudden, I've now got more grandkids. How do I go back and make those changes? Am I having to pay an attorney every time I need to update my document?
No, absolutely not. One, if the client feels comfortable, they can hop right in. Changing beneficiaries inside of the console is one of the easiest things. They list their name, hit save, it repopulates it through all of their documents, and it has been done in a matter of probably a minute and 45 seconds. We try to make the advisors comfortable with that process as well. Obviously, some clients aren't technologically savvy, and so an advisor will help them. It's as easy as well as sending an email. Clients who don't really know how to use the computer can usually get on their phone or reach out to their advisor and say, hey, I want to add a beneficiary. And I want the beneficiary to receive this or an equal share or whatever it is. And I've gone in and helped the advisors as well. So it's very easy to make sure that the team is there. And before the attorney gets off that attorney review with the client, they make sure that they understand there's, you know, the ability to email, to use the internal notepad messaging system inside the console, or their advisor has the ability to assist them as well.
So they have a lot of flexibility that they otherwise wouldn't have without having to go back to reference an attorney every time they need an update.
Yeah, I mean, classically it was, they would reach out to their advisor. I can't get in touch with the attorney, or they'd call the attorney, have to make an appointment, go sit in the office. This really eliminates all that. Making people not scared to update their estate plan and allowing them to do so, anywhere they have the internet, anywhere they can call their advisor, or anywhere they can set an appointment and have a call with their attorney again.
Very good. Now, a question also comes up. Can the advisor make changes on the documents, or is that specifically the attorney or the client making those changes?
The advisor has unlimited access to the client console for the first 3 months to help them set it up. They can always request to have access back to the console. We kind of make it private. So if the client wants the advisor back in there, we can definitely give them access again. But we try to make it so that the clients understand how to use it and make those changes. But of course, the advisor can hop in those first 3 months. The advisor can ask to have access back, or they can simply say to the attorney, hey, I need to make these changes, and the attorney will go in and do it for them.
Very good.
So we do lock it after a few months just for privacy of the client, but the advisor can still see all of the funding kit and necessary information that they would need to help with planning.
Now, at death, we've got somebody that's utilized, we've got an advisor that brought a client in, client dies. How do the beneficiaries access the documents if they are in an e-vault inside the secure portal of the ITS platform?
What happens when someone passes away is that the trust becomes irrevocable. So the console edit feature gets locked. So meaning, obviously we have to be notified of the death. The client has the ability to log in and make those changes until they die. And then the way that the client or the advisor would log in after that is through the trustee console. Whether they're a beneficiary or a trustee, it's just a locked version of the documents. They can see everything. They can see everything that was uploaded into the e-vault, all the personal notes, but they will not be able to make any changes because that document becomes irrevocable at the death of the second trustee.
Very good. Now, for a producer that is looking to engage with you all in terms of using your platform, but really wants some training to better understand estate planning before they decide to dive in and utilize a lot of the tools and resources you have, what's available on the platform for them?
There is a very, very in-depth training manual, I will say. It's more of like a PowerPoint book inside of the advisor console. So they have the ability to go through there and take a very in-depth, almost CFP attorney style course. There's also a lot of resources that I've created just personally as the chief counsel for the platform. There's a lot of white papers and things. So we are uploading them to a website that's called estateplanportfolio.com. We are just adding more videos and more tidbits of information. But as far as the educational process goes, you really just need to understand those basics of what is a revocable living trust and That's that it's a trust that's avoiding probate court. It's going to be revocable, so changeable, and it's going into effect right now while you're living. And anything else more in depth with that, that attorney is going to make sure that those clients understand. So it's just understanding that it's part of the planning process, functions like a contract, keeps everything out of probate court. Um, and that's really the depth of what the advisor needs to know, is that this is the best way to make sure that those clients are getting all of their wishes followed.
Sure. Now, one of the areas, and Gary and I have had some conversations over this in the past, one of the areas that I always hear as a concern when I talk to some producers about looking at utilizing a program like this is they want to make sure that they're avoiding any appearance of the practice of law that could get them in trouble. You and I have had some discussions, and we actually have done some prior interviews in Estate Planning 101. For those that may be interested in seeing those, happy to share those. But we've talked about some of the trust mills that were around years ago. That guy was working off some computer in his back room and just spitting documents out with no attorney involved. How do we address the liability issue and make sure that a financial advisor is comfortable that they are simply acting as an individual introducing and they're not engaging in the practice of law themselves?
The main issue with those trust mills is that people had documents, they were drafting them, and there's nothing wrong and there is nothing legal in all actuality about drafting a trust. It's a contract. You don't need to be an attorney to draft a trust. It's something that an advisor can actually assist with. The issue with those trust mill type scenarios is that they were telling clients, here's this paper, take this. And the legal advice that they were giving was, this will take care of everything. You don't need to go to probate court. You don't need a will. You don't need power of attorney forms. You don't need all this stuff. And that's where they transferred into the realm of, an advisor can assist and definitely be part of creating trust in those other documents. But telling someone that they don't need a will is wrong. Yes, we want to utilize a trust document. We want to try to stay out of probate court, but you have to have a pour over will just in case something makes it to probate court, or you want your will to be filed. If you have minor children and you pass away, the only way the court is going to know who your guardian choices are is if you have a will to file in probate court. So when these advisors were, and not even advisors, whoever was selling these trusts were just using a template, a boilerplate template, and not giving any of the other supporting documents or utilizing the whole picture or asking someone who is up to date on the law where they were drafting these trusts, that's when they stepped over into the realm of, well, how familiar are you with the state's law that you're writing this trust in? And so there's nothing wrong with helping in to fill out some of these documents, get basic identifying information, guiding an attorney, but you don't want to step into that realm of telling people what documents they need and legally what they should do as far as, medical directives, power of attorneys, and even telling them that they don't need a will is not a good idea.
So for the producer, the opportunity to be able to introduce them to someone like yourself that can provide that legal guidance really provides some insulation for them in making sure that they're not stepping over that line and engaging in areas of conduct that could create problems for them in their practice.
Yeah, you're going to have a team member who's a licensed attorney there the entire way. Anything that even starts to become legal, that attorney is there to review it, to oversee it. And anything that is absolute legal advice, that attorney is going to take that from you and do it for you.
And that's powerful. That's one of the things that we teach when we teach producers in putting together an estate planning team. We talk about two essential members, and one of those is an attorney to speak into the legal issues, and then a CPA that can speak into those tax-related issues, so that you, as an insurance agent, registered investment advisor, stockbroker, whatever you may be in terms of your licensure or registration, you're not engaging in fields of practice that you're not properly credentialed and licensed to do. And so that's one of the uniquenesses that we like with the ITS platform. Now, a couple of you have asked about the cost of the plans. The cost of the plans are going to vary based upon the type of planning that your particular client is looking for. Sierra, can you give us some range or some idea of what we're looking at from a price comparison for what you guys typically work in an estate planning scenario with a normal family?
Yeah, so with a normal family, husband and wife, we're going to create a trust together and then have all their individual documents. It's going to be around that 2200 price point. They know the point of cost when we're talking to them. So, say they are doing that basic trust, but they also want to add in the universal guardian trust. Nothing's ever going to reach over that cost of if they added. I mean, I don't think anyone adds all the ancillary stuff, but say they're doing the basic estate plan and they add on the universal guardian trust, which I think is an additional $800 just because someone from my staff, either my paralegal or an attorney, is going to sit down and walk them through that guardian guide and make sure that they understand and go through and spell everything out. They're going to know the cost of those documents before they ever start the process and before they make a payment. So it's not some questionable billable hour. It's always going to be here's the cost for the additional documents. This is what it cost and this is what you're paying. And there's no, oh, we accidentally went over some billable hours, let's charge them more. That's never going to happen. So whatever the upfront cost is to them, you can tell them and let them know. It just varies depending on if they're going to add in different subtrust.
Yeah, and one of the things one is asked, do the advisors earn referral fees into the plans? The way we've set this up is we have intentionally set this up so that this is a complimentary service that you are offering. There are a number of states that we have worked in the past where receiving referral fees was problematic. And so our relationship here at Vision Advisors with ITS, this is a complimentary referral system. You're not asking a CPA to share his fees with you. You're probably not asking an attorney to share his fees with you. And one of the reasons we've been able to get this cost down to where it is affordable for a family to use is we don't pad this with a lot of additional fees that are paying referral fees back to advisors. So I want to answer that one up front, Tim. So thank you for asking that. That's a good question. And we've done that intentionally because we want this to be a value added service. But here's what we find is that as you have an opportunity to introduce estate planning, the fact finding that the attorney group does oftentimes will uncover other opportunities for you that will allow you to make a financial sale as a part of the process. If Sierra or her team or any of the other attorneys that you may be working with in their network identify a need for a financial product to be sold or assets to be reallocated for specific planning needs, that instruction comes back to you as the advisor and it's not being sent to somebody else that you don't know. So the team is working together as a cohesive unit. We also find that when you start offering estate planning to your clients, and the clients have their friends, their neighbors, their family, their coworkers come over and they get together and they begin to talk about what's new and they share that their financial advisor was able to help them do this and to connect with an attorney and have an opportunity to do this in an affordable manner. All of a sudden you start getting referrals that you never got before. And for those of you, and I see some of you on the call that you do business in multiple states, think about the fact that you may be living in Nevada, but you've got a client that you work with that relocated to Florida, or you've got clients in Missouri or Tennessee or Illinois. You have the ability with this online platform to be able to engage with those clients, to work with them virtually and not have to drive or fly to be with them in person and go meet with an attorney in some stuffy office. You've got the ability to bring everybody together into a highly secure, highly technically savvy portal where everything can be done in one place. Your financial planning can be done. The estate planning part of that can be done. Everything can all be put together in one place, making it very affordable, very easy, and very convenient to work on a national level to be able to incorporate and utilize estate planning. So great question, Tim. Thanks for asking. Sierra, am I missing anything I haven't asked you? We're getting close to wrapping this up. So anybody else on the call, if you got any other questions, please throw those in the chat or the Q&A. Sierra, is there anything I haven't asked you that you feel like is important that we need to make sure the audience understands before we wrap this up today?
I'd just like to recap kind of what you just went over just from the advisor standpoint. Just working with advisors, I don't even go out and get my own clients anymore because I specifically work with advisors because it works so much better than trying to guide people who don't have advisors who work with me. Is that, again, you're creating that financial plan for your clients. but this is also a way to generate, qualified clients. You're going out and you're getting new clients and you're sitting down with them, and now you are a full planner. You're talking to them about their financial plan now, their estate planning, and this is very unique. Not a lot of people don't have that network attorney who they can say, this is definitely an attorney you're going to work with. They either have a referral system or they might have LegalZoom or documents that they kind of do themselves, but it's a very unique differentiator to have that attorney who is tied to you, who is your network attorney, who's going to be lifting you up, who you know who it is, who you can contact and work with at any time. And then you go through this process and you've helped your clients create an actual plan, income estate plan. And then you have full asset disclosure, which is really where, it's great. Obviously, this benefits the clients because now they have a full plan, but now you have the ability to assist them if they need other products, if they need further planning, because you can see all of their assets, you know exactly what they want. And you didn't have to sit there with a fact finder sheet and say, tell me exactly where all your money is.
Yeah.
It's kind of an invaluable tool for an advisor to create a new relationship as well as strengthen those ones, and not lose clients to outside attorneys who might tell them there's another financial advisor down the road that they use.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the areas, Sierra, that we teach here at Vision Advisors is what we call the attractional advisor model, how to truly position yourself as an authority figure and an expert, so that you look unique and different than all of your competition that's out there. And the ability to build into that conversation the fact that you have an attorney on your team that's available, that they can work with you and your clients nationwide, that is a very strong, powerful statement that a lot of financial professionals can't make and don't have the ability to offer that resource to their clients. So thank you for summarizing that up. Looks like we're done with questions for today. So I want to say thank you to everybody for being on the call. Sierra, I want to say thank you for your continued support of what we're doing here at Vision Advisors. So for those of you that are on the call with us and those of you that are listening to the replay, if you're interested in getting connected and having an opportunity to work with Sierra or any of the other network attorneys that are part of ITS, this is a platform that we make available here through Vision Advisors. So if you'd like to learn more about how to get connected with Vision Advisors and have an opportunity to work through our unique relationship we have with ITS, let me encourage you to reach out to us. 1-800-505-8489 is our number. 1-800-505-8489 is our phone number. My direct extension when the voice prompt comes on is 102. And I'd welcome an opportunity to have that conversation with you. And when we're talking, be sure and ask me about some of the turnkey estate planning workshop tools and resources that we've put together. So whether you're doing seminars, you're doing virtual events, or a hybrid, we've got some tools and resources that are either done for you, done with you, or we can help you put it together so that you can do it yourself and have that as an additional education piece to your practice. Sierra, thank you for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen on the call, thank you for being with us. I'm John Terry with Vision Advisors. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.